In our continuing Commitment 2024 coverage tonight, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz emerges from the most accelerated search for a vice presidential running mate in modern U.S. history from a short list that included half a dozen Democrats. Vice President Kamala Harris held in-person interviews with all three finalists Sunday in Washington, D.C. One is on stage in Philadelphia right now campaigning for her. She made her decision this morning. There is Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, who was one of the three finalists, but he was not the choice. Joining us now for a look at the decision and what's ahead, our choice. Our WPBF 25 News political analyst, former Congressman Ron Klein, former Florida House Majority Leader Adam Hassner. Question one, Ron, why the Minnesota governor and what does Tim Walz bring to this Democratic ticket?
Tim Walz is a very regular guy. I served with him. I was elected at the same time in Congress. Terrific person. I mean, salt of the earth, football coach, teacher, 24-year leader in the Army National Guard. It's exactly what you would want in an elected official, authentic, a real person. I think the more people get to know him, the more they're going to say, wow, this is what politicians are supposed to be, as opposed to people who are, inauthentic, if you will.
All right, Adam, what do you think of this pick and the immediate GOP criticism that Walz is too liberal and a left coast wannabe?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, the activist class wanted Walz. The consultant class and the strategist class wanted Shapiro. They were thinking about a path to 270 through Pennsylvania. But the criticisms are real when you look at his record. And I think what you're going to hear from Republicans is this is Bernie Sanders without the Brooklyn accent. And what you're going to hear Democrats talking about is what Ron said, which is he's affable, he's Midwestern, he's nice, he's somebody that people can relate to. And that might be helpful in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Wisconsin. But this is all about finding a path to 270.
Right, and again, that would be, you're mentioning the blue wall, and he should have some influence up there. But I have to go back to what we always talk about, gentlemen, in these presidential campaigns that we've talked about for years. Ron, I'll start with you. Does this make much of a difference? Does this move the needle at all? This is all about the people at the top of the ticket, really, isn't it?
No, I think this is about Kamala Harris showing good judgment. She came up with somebody who's a governor of a Midwest state. The state of Minnesota is doing extremely well from the economy point of view. By the way, to the point of liberal and all these terms that Adam and others are throwing around, Joe Manchin endorsed him. The same old topics, liberal and all this kind of stuff. People are tired. They want people who care about them. And Tim Walz is one of those guys. He's shown it for all the years he's in Congress and is governor of the state of Minnesota. Yeah, I think it does move the needle.
All right, well, it did move fast either way. Adam, let me ask you, this so-called honeymoon period we've talked about for the vice president, now the presumptive nominee, now she has a running mate. Does this go on and through the Democratic convention this month? When does the Harris-Walz campaign come back to earth?
Yeah, I think it continues. I think they continue to get a little bit of a bump. Kamala Harris doubled down on the progressive agenda. She had a choice to be able to go to the middle, to pick a moderate. She didn't. People criticized Trump for going with Vance, for being the America First doubling down. So I think that's the same. But this continues probably for another week or two. And I think really where it's going to come to an end, and a lot of Republicans have been talking about it today, is when Kamala Harris has to start answering questions from the media and has to get in front of the media with interviews and not on a teleprompter. And I think that's really when the campaign's going to begin in earnest.
Rami, let me ask you just to wrap up here. Does Walz, is he a better candidate as a running mate than J.D. Vance, or really is just depending on your political persuasion here?
Well, I think the persuasion of politics will influence that. But I think in terms of the two of them standing up next to each other in a debate, where I think Vance is going to come across stressful and angry, which is sort of the Trump side of things. Walz is going to come across with competent answers, like he's governed the state of Minnesota. He's also a decent person, not just nice, he's decent. That's a big difference. That's what people want in America. They want uplifting, positive people. That's Tim Walz, and that's Kamala Harris' message of looking forward, not backward.
I'm looking over my shoulder to watch this rally in Philadelphia very soon. The Democratic ticket will take the stage together for the first time. Our ticket, Ron Klein, Adam Hassner, our exclusive political analyst. Thanks again for joining us tonight. We appreciate it as always.